What an amazing season it's been. It has reminded me why I love college football. In this season in which we got fans back into the stadium, we kind of came home to the sport. There's some things that just resonated with me about this sport that I love about it. And listen, yeah, I love the players and the plays that they make and all of that, but there's some deeper things that I wanted to just talk about here as we kind of plow forward towards bowl season, the playoff, the holidays. I want to share with you maybe these 3 reasons why I love college football. All right, so let's get into it. First is football is a land of opportunity. Folks, I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but think of the thousands of opportunities out there for young men to go and get a college scholarship in order to play football. That speaks for itself. That land of opportunity is fertile, and you can go out there and achieve and get yourself out of situations, and it's the engine of progress for thousands of young men out there that can go and further their education and therefore their life because of the sport of football. But it's not just the young men that are participating in football. The beauty about football, and college football specifically, it is the economic driver to the opportunity for every other sport in intercollegiate athletics. So if you're great at anything else and striving at anything else, and you're a young man or a young woman and you're playing golf or tennis or soccer or you're a swimmer or any of that, football is the economic driver to your progress in your sport. That's why I love it. Those thousands, there's over 50,000 scholarship athletes in the NCAA, and football pays for almost every single one of them. And so this sport is meaningful, yes, in and of itself, but it even has a more profound impact on young people all over as the agent of change through education and opportunity in that college environment. So that's number one. Let's move over. Let's take a look at some other things that I love about college football. Football in general, but college football specifically, is a refining fire that builds a man's character. Okay, folks, here's the deal. If you don't know what a refining fire is, it's this process with external force, in this case heat, that removes imperfections, right? Impurities and things like metal. And that process has to take place so that you can come out with something that is refined, and those impurities have been removed. And what I love about football is that it is a tough sport. That is the external factor or force. Okay, it's a tough sport played by tough people. And there are going to be hard times. There are going to be really hard times that you have to face as a player. And the best part about actually being on the field is that the film, which is taken every single day in every single drill, lays bare for all to see whether you can or you can't. Okay, so because of that, it is a true meritocracy where results are the currency of what you can then go and play with in the locker room. Okay, everyone's going to know what's happening to you. So there are going to be trials. For the first time in your life, remember, these kids are great youth football and high school football players. And then they experience failure for the first time, a lot of kids in college as freshmen and sophomore, when they're facing guys that are 22 and 23 and are more developed, and they're failing for the first time. That's a trial. That trial needs to take place. You face losses a lot of times for the first time. You think you want to quit. It's difficult. It's a tough sport played by tough people, but that process has to take place. It has to take place so that you can be mature and complete, not lacking things. That refining fire, it purifies you as a man. College football produces better men, period. In particular, in a time in which great men in our society are in short supply. We move on to the last reason that I'll give for the reason that I love college football. As humans, we have this innate desire to be connected to something that is bigger than ourselves, and college football provides that. I think that it's somewhat self-explanatory for the player, but let me just go through it as a player. As a player, you enter this locker room and you enter this team, and immediately you're asked to buy into a common goal that is going to supersede any personal goal. All right, so that's important because research has shown that when we are connected, any one of us, to something bigger than ourselves, we are actually happier and healthier. So college football produces that environment where we're trying to connect with something through a common goal with these other men in this locker room that is bigger than ourselves. What that produces, though, is beautiful. Here's what it produces. The best melting pot that you will see in this country and maybe even the world. All right? Cultures and societies have a hard time replicating what a college football locker room can produce, which is men from every single background, creed, race, religion, and in the age of political purity processes, every political affiliation. It's beautiful. And they all are circled around and moving towards a common goal. So none of that stuff matters. None of that background, none of that stuff matters. So in a day and age when our culture wants to define groups, put them in corners and pit those groups against each other, here comes college football. And it produces an environment in which anyone from any walk of life can buy into a common goal, and then as men together, you can work, bleed, sweat, and chase that common goal. And then the beautiful part happens. You laugh, cry, hug, and celebrate with one another when you achieve that common goal. It's a beautiful thing, but it's not just the players, folks. It's also the fans. See, for fans, we are connected to something bigger than ourselves when it comes to college football. College football acts as almost like an heirloom that is passed down in families through the generations. I remember my dad took me to a game at Folsom Field in the University of Colorado, and I saw Colorado play the University of Oklahoma in 1986. Brian Bosworth was a linebacker playing Barry Switzer's team. I saw Ralphie run out on Folsom Field. I fell in love. That became an heirloom in our family. Ralphie running around that field. We passed it down through the generations. It's all I wanted to do was play at the University of Colorado. You see, rather than a watch or a necklace or a ring, like in some families pass down things like fight on or go blue, hail to the victors, dotting the I at Ohio State. That acts as the Thanksgiving dinner for the greater community and the fan base that comes around the dinner table of college football. It is a beautiful thing to see, in particular this year. Because for the first time this year, we saw some true joy, whether it was jump around at Wisconsin, the Iowa wave, the storming of the field at the Big House after they beat Ohio State. Grown men and women hugging each other from all walks of life. See, for the first time in a long time, folks, in our society, we stopped yelling at each other and we started cheering with each other. Why? Because we were connected to something bigger than ourselves through college football. That's why I love this amazing sport. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here, College Football on Fox.